Have you ever met someone from your past who changed your life, without you even realizing it? Imagine walking into a hospital room, years after you thought your story there was over, only to find the one person who once held your hand when you were closest to giving up. That's what happened to me. The nurse who once saved me looked right into my eyes and said, "You were my favorite patient." Those words cracked something open inside me, something I didn't even know was still healing. The day I met her again started like any other gray, unremarkable Monday. I was at the hospital for a follow-up, routine, boring, just another reminder that my body still bore the marks of what happened 6 years ago. Back then, I was 23, and a car accident had nearly taken everything from me. I spent months in that same hospital, learning to walk again, to breathe without pain, to find a reason to keep going. I remembered faces, voices, the steady beep of machines, but time had blurred most of it into something dreamlike. I walked down the hall, the smell of antiseptic and coffee mingling in that strange hospital way. A nurse passed me, smiling politely, and I nodded back. Nothing special. Until I turned the corner and saw her. She was talking to another patient, her tone soft, her posture warm and familiar. I couldn't place her immediately, but when she glanced up, our eyes met. She froze. I froze. There was a beat of silence that felt like time itself stopped breathing. Then she smiled, and that smile pulled 1,000 half-buried memories out of me like threads. "Ethan," she said, her voice hesitant but full of something, surprise, disbelief, maybe even joy. I blinked. "Do I know you?" She laughed softly, and for a second, I heard that same laugh echoing from years ago, the one that used to calm me down when the pain got unbearable. "You do," she said. "Though you might not remember. I'm Claire. I was your nurse after the accident." It hit me like a wave. I remembered her voice reading me short stories late at night when I couldn't sleep, her patient smile when I cursed through physical therapy, the way she told me I'd walk again even when I'd told her to stop lying. My throat tightened. "I remember," I whispered. You used to braid your hair the same way." She laughed again, touching her braids self-consciously. "Some habits don't change." Then her expression softened. "You look so different. Stronger." "I try," I said, my voice cracking just a little. She looked at me for a long time, then said something I'll never forget, "You were my favorite patient." It wasn't said lightly. It wasn't just a kind remark, it was a truth that carried weight, warmth, and grief all at once. Chapter 1 felt like a reunion, but Chapter 2 felt like destiny rewriting itself. A few days later, I came back to the hospital, not for a checkup, but to see Claire. I told myself it was to thank her properly, but deep down, it was because something about that encounter had stirred an ache I didn't know how to quiet. She met me in the cafeteria, still in her scrubs, her ID badge slightly crooked, her eyes bright but tired. We talked like old friends who'd missed a lifetime of stories. She told me about the hundreds of patients she'd cared for since me, how some left a mark and others faded away. "But you," she said, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, "you were different. You fought harder than anyone I'd ever seen. Even when you didn't believe you could." I told her the truth, that I hadn't fought for hope, not really. I'd fought out of anger, fear, and stubbornness. She smiled knowingly. "Doesn't matter what drives you," she said softly. "Only that you don't stop moving forward." As we talked, I noticed something behind her eyes, a tired sadness, like someone who'd given too much of herself for too long. When I asked, she hesitated, then admitted she was planning to leave nursing. Burnout, exhaustion, the endless goodbyes that come with the job, it had all caught up to her. "I thought I could handle it," she said, her voice cracking. "But every time I lose someone, it feels like I'm losing a piece of myself. I don't know if I can keep doing this." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I realized, this was my chance to give back the hope she'd once given me. "Claire," I said quietly, you told me once that healing isn't always about fixing. Sometimes it's about finding strength in the scars. Maybe it's your turn to heal now." She looked at me, and tears welled up in her eyes. "You remember that?" "Every word," I said. "You got me through the darkest part of my life. Maybe this time I can remind you that what you do matters." It mattered to me. It still does. We sat there, both silent for a while. Then she smiled, really smiled, and said, "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that." That day marked something neither of us expected. We started meeting every few weeks, sometimes at the hospital, sometimes at a park nearby. I shared how I was rebuilding my life, how I'd started volunteering at rehab centers to motivate people like me. She told me she'd decided to take a break instead of quitting completely. "I'll come back," she said one afternoon, as the sunset lit her hair gold. But this time, for the right reasons. Months passed, and when I visited the hospital again, she was there, calmer, brighter, steady in the way only people who've walked through the storm can be. "You were my favorite patient," she said again with a smile. "But now, I think you've become one of my favorite people." I laughed, though my throat ached. "Guess we both healed each other, huh?" And that's the truth. Sometimes life circles back in ways we don't expect, not to reopen old wounds, but to remind us that healing never really ends. Sometimes, the people who once saved us come back not as our healers, but as proof that we made it through. If you've ever felt broken, remember this: somewhere, someone remembers you not for your pain, but for your strength.